Welcome back into WCTV Channel 14 Senior Spotlights. My name is Logan Episcopo, and I'll be your host once again for this episode of Senior Spotlights. Today I'm joined by the doctor, the professor, the 1,000-point scorer, whatever you want to call him, Caleb Yauger.
I did not score 1,000 points, just to put that out there.
Caleb Yauger joining me today at the panel. Caleb, you've had a great career here at Waynesburg. At least from the 3 years I've been here, I've been able to see you do a lot of things, grow a lot. But what really brought you to Waynesburg in the whole applying to college process?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me, and the fact that I'm doing a senior spotlight. I remember other people used to do this, but now the fact that I am doing this myself is a little weird. It's just gives you an idea of how much time flies when you're having fun and how busy you get. But to answer your question, I was originally thinking about going into business. I didn't really know necessarily what I wanted to do yet, but that was the route I was going to take. And I had it narrowed down to, was it Duquesne, Robert Morris, and Waynesburg. Waynesburg was kind of on the list anyway of like where I was going to go. And then we found out about this program of sports announcing here at Waynesburg, and Lanny Ferteri gave my parents a call, and he said, hey, have Caleb come down and sit in one of my classes just to see what he thinks. So we went down. I had already visited the campus once or twice already, but I went down and I just fell in love with what they were doing and everything, and I was like, I really want to do this. So it was from there on where I was like, yeah, I want to go to Waynesburg and be a part of something great here.
So you talk about being a part of something great. During this past summer, you had an internship with the Washington Wild Things. Ton of guys from Waynesburg were there. I'm sure that was a huge plus, being surrounded by people you've already worked with at school. But what are some things you picked up at that internship that you really could translate into your career?
It's funny you say translate, because I had the opportunity. There are a couple of Dominican players on the Washington Wild Things team this past summer. One of them was Wagner LeGrand. She couldn't speak English like hardly at all. And Sandro Cabrera, he spoke a little bit of English, but kind of struggled with it. And then for those of you who know, I speak a little bit of Spanish, so I had that opportunity to conversate with them and just get some more storylines, because I was a play-by-play announcer this past summer. But even though I am going into news, and you say, well, you did a play-by-play internship this summer, how did that apply to what you're doing now? I mean, throughout the summer of being live on air, I mean, you have live shots in news, but essentially if you're a play-by-play announcer, you are quote-unquote live for 2.5, 3.5 hours. So you're constantly having to be aware of where you are and everything like that. And just my confidence in my announcing abilities and my my skills in terms of announcing in general just really improved throughout the summer. And just a lot of takeaways of, sometimes you have to work when things get really hard. You're going to be tired, you're going to be worn out, but those are the times where you really have to dig deep and still find ways to improve. You're going to get stuck sometimes, but that's just a part of life, and you have to find ways to work through those bad moments.
So while you're working with some current Waynesburg students, you also were under the wing of Kyle Dawson, a former Waynesburg University student. What's probably a big takeaway that you took from him being along his side doing play-by-play announcing for the Wild Things?
I have to just say, first of all, that Kyle is really, really good at what he does. I mean, play-by-play announcing is his strong suit, and he can announce anything, especially, baseball. He has been the 2-time Frontier League Broadcaster of the Year. And I had a really, really great mentor there. But, one of the things that I took away from him was to just kind of be yourself on air. Obviously, you have to have a professional sense of yourself and a professional outlook and, what's the word I'm looking for, charisma about you. But what he did was he kind of was himself on air in the sense of he threw jokes in there once in a while, or he said, well, I should probably hit that button before I go on, or something like that, and everybody could hear that. I mean, those are little things, but you would think, you're live on air, especially for a Frontier League team. This is a professional setting, but just being yourself a little bit and just having fun really added to that. That's one of the things that I took away from that, and just having fun with announcing.
So we talk about announcing with the Wild Things, but let's move over to your time here at Waynesburg as a sports media announcing major here. I asked Brock Owens this. I'm going to ask you the same thing. What was your favorite announcer call in your time here at Waynesburg? I know you've done plenty of games. We've variety of sports, but what would you say was your number one moment that you'll never forget?
Well, I would say I can't think of a particular call right now, but I would say when we did the college game day setting, do you remember that against W&J? It was me, it was Jeremiah Miller, Cal Kildow, he joined us for the second segment, and then Carter Newcomb. We were sitting there, cold rain, just absolutely miserable. My piece of paper was just completely soaked. My jacket was soaked. My hair was floppy. It was a mess. I was freezing. I had gloves on. My gloves were getting waterlogged and everything. We were shivering there. And I literally said to Jeremiah, I'm going to remember this moment, even though I'm miserable right now. And we both agreed that this would be a moment that we would never forget. And that's one of the most memorable moments I've had ever here at Waynesburg.
Yeah, I'll say I'm kind of thankful for not being there that day and having to endure all that rain that you guys had. But a part of that weather comes with your future career that you'll have up in Erie. You accepted a job as a reporter there, anchor there. Mm-hmm. What are some takeaways from dealing with like weather, other mishaps that happen within the television side of things that you're going to try and maybe avoid or just know to expect in the professional field?
Well, here's the thing here, Waynesburg, you have the really great opportunity of trying anything that you really want. And it's not just from your junior year onward as an upperclassman. You can try it from your freshman year. You get a radio shift, second weekend of the semester when everybody else goes, essentially. But, throughout all of this time, I've learned a lot of great things, and I've made plenty of mistakes. And that's just by trying new things. I mean, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not doing anything. So that's one of my biggest life philosophies in general. And when you at least try and all these different things, you get a sense of what you like and what you don't like, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I've made plenty of mistakes where I've done something and it said, okay, we can maybe change that a little bit, but I've also made mistakes where it's like, oh, we should probably never do that again. I shouldn't probably do that ever again. News is a competitive business, and you're representing yourself, you're representing the station. But if you have good intentions, if you have a good work ethic and you are just a sponge and you soak up everything around you and learning new things as you go along, and I think you should be okay.
You talk about soaking up information, all the classes you've taken here within the communication department. What is one professor who's whatever their class, advice outside of class that you are for sure going to take away and they've left that huge, print in your life?
Mm-hmm. All of the professors here in the Department of Communication have given something to me that I can take with me wherever I go. I mean, obviously Melinda Roeder has gotten me into news, and she's guided me along those ways. If I didn't meet Melinda, or if I didn't, have her as my professor, I wouldn't have that job because she gave me the contact for the news director there. If it wasn't for Lanny, I wouldn't have learned all of those different sports announcing techniques and everything like that, and Professor Krause as well, challenging me in the classroom. He pushes you definitely, and he would tell you that he does push you, but it's a really good thing to have, and all of them have pushed me to my limits. And not only have they given me great things to make me become a better broadcaster or what specific area I want to go into, but they've all challenged me in terms of what is important in life, and they all have a focus on, you need to become a better human being. You need to be a kind and genuine person wherever you go. And those are the things that are really going to serve you in life, no matter where you go.
So you've already talked about your own life philosophy, a little bit of advice that your professors have given you. What would be one piece of advice from a personal standpoint that you'd give to someone that's looking for a career in the television business?
Make mistakes. Just try anything that you can. And you're going to find out that you're bad at certain things. That doesn't mean that you are a bad person or anything like that. If you find out that you don't like something, at least you gave it a try. Would you rather give something a try and not have it work out, or would you rather not try it and say, what if? That's one of my philosophies. And just no matter where you go, try to be at least somewhat of a decent human being. I mean, there are a lot of news people out there who really do great at their jobs, but sometimes they don't have that personal genuineness to them. But you can really stick out, not just in news, but in life in general, or any career that you choose. If you compose yourself well, if you're professional, if you do things like that.
So, Caleb Yauger, you're moving on after Waynesburg, going to Erie, a little close to home, not too far from Waynesburg. I'm sure we'll see you a few times here and there. In the next 5-10 years, where do you see yourself, and what is potentially Caleb Yauger's end goal or his dream job to have?
You know, to be completely honest with you, I don't know if I can give you a direct answer of that right now. My answer to your question about where do I see myself in 5 to 10 years, wherever I may be, I'll be doing the best that I can. And making the most in my situation.
So we talked a little bit about what you'll be doing at Erie. You mentioned how the market is pretty big there, Buffalo, other places around there that send people to the Super Bowl. Being a sports media major, do you have an interest in still doing something sports, or have you found a love for doing stuff within news?
My ideal situation is doing both. That's what I applied, obviously, to Erie, but I also applied to a station in Green Bay. Things didn't work out there, but one of the things that I was developing over time, and one of my interests was, I told them, hey, look, I do have an interest in news, but I also like doing sports, but I just don't want to do one or the other. If there's any way that I can combine the two and I can do both as a career, or at least getting started in this, then that would be my ideal situation.
A true Swiss Army knife, Caleb. Thank you for sitting down with me, being the interview for the Senior Spotlight. It's been a pleasure working with you the past 3 years. Very looking forward to seeing what you can do in the future in Erie.
Can I also say that you are doing a great job here, and you know, especially this year, you are really stepping up and you're really taking on different roles. And you know, don't quit that. And I see you having a bright future, especially you taking on the NFL draft and the what's the company you work for?
Sports Bible.
Force Bible. Just doing things like that and just keep it going, man. Like that's all I can tell you. You'll be doing great things.
I appreciate it. I didn't expect it to turn into a little bit of a Logan Lepiscopo interview here, but I really appreciate it and appreciate you recognizing all the work that I've been doing and all the work that everybody's been doing here at WCTV. Caleb, I'd like to thank you again for sitting down with me. And that's going to be it for this Senior Spotlight. Come back to the YouTube channel to check out our other fall graduates here in 2022.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.